Welcome, dear listener. Tonight, let your thoughts drift far from the ticking clocks, glowing screens, and busy schedules of the modern world. Take a breath, and another, and let it out slowly. You are safe here. Let your body sink into stillness. Let your mind wander gently back in time. Tonight, we visit a world without alarms, without wristwatches, without deadlines. A world where time flows like a stream, soft and natural, not measured in seconds, but in sunlight, seasons, and silence. We are going back to the medieval countryside, to the quiet lives of peasants, the humble folk who worked the land, not with haste, but with harmony. We will see how they lived, how they worked, and how they moved gently through their days, all without clocks. Let's begin. It begins softly. The light of dawn creeps across a sloped thatched rooftop, warming its mossy crown. Birds begin their quiet chorus, not with urgency, but with the sleepy, hopeful trills of a new day. Inside, a small timber-framed cottage. The air is cool, still carrying the damp of the night. A mother opens her eyes, not because of a shrill ring, but because a faint golden glow has touched her cheeks through a slit in the wooden shutter. Beside her, her youngest child stirs, mumbling in dreams. She doesn't glance at a clock. She doesn't need to. The day begins when the light says so. Time, here, is told by what can be seen, heard, smelled, not by gears or numbers. She moves, softly to the hearth, adds a log to the embers. The scent of wood smoke rises. She adds oats to a pot of water. It bubbles slowly. The family stirs gradually. A rooster crows. Outside, fog still clings to the hedges. The village is waking, not rushing. For medieval peasants, the sun was the master clock, not by numbers, but by signs. The angle of shadows, the warmth of the light, the position of the sun over trees and rooftops. These told them everything they needed. When the sun reached above the eastern grove, it was time to go to the fields. When it touched the top of the chapel's bell tower, it was time for the midday rest. Imagine a life like that, where time wasn't divided into exact pieces, but flowed like a song. The peasant's day unfolds slowly, like the petals of a morning flower. As the sun climbs higher, the villagers make their way to the fields, men, women, and sometimes children too. They carry simple tools, wooden rakes, iron-tipped hoes, woven baskets slung across backs. There's no time card to punch, no factory, bell to dictate their steps. They begin when the dew fades from the grass and the earth feels ready beneath their feet. The rhythm is set by nature, not imposed from outside, but felt within. Each task has its own quiet timing. The plowing is done while the soil is still cool. Harvest waits for dry days, and lambing comes when the moon is full and the winds are just right. They don't count minutes. They read the signs of the sky, the weight of the air, the smell of rain on the wind. There's a serenity in that. No rushing, no catching up, just being, part of the earth's great turning wheel. At mid-morning, they pause. A shared piece of bread. A sip of small ale. They sit under a tree, talk about the weather, the crops, the coming feast days. Time stretches out like the shade beneath them. No one checks a clock to see if it's noon. The sun itself, high above, bright and commanding, tells them it is time to rest. Even the animals feel it, slowing their steps, seeking cool places. Under the hedgerows, children might splash in a stream. A grandmother hums softly while shelling beans. Someone mends a tunic under the eaves of a cottage, her needle rising and falling like a heartbeat. The bell in the village church may toll, not to mark the hour exactly, but to call the faithful to pause, to pray, to breathe. It is a rhythm of the spirit as much as the day. Here, time is woven with faith and food and family. The people do not rush their pause. There is still much day left. As the sun begins to tilt westward, the day enters its second chapter. Shadows, lengthen on the cottage walls. The fields are golden now, glowing softly under the afternoon light. This is a time for quieter tasks, gathering herbs, repairing tools, sweeping the yard, preparing the evening meal. Women grind grain on heavy stones. Boys herd geese toward the village pond. Girls help sort lentils or cardwool by the hearth. The time is read in the length of shadows and the slant of sunlight across doorways. The church's long shadow might stretch to the edge of the market road, and that to them might mean it's time to begin baking the bread. There is no hurry, yet all gets done. The day flows, shaped by sun and sound and custom. As the golden haze of late afternoon gives way to the dimming light of dusk, the village begins to draw inward. Work winds down, fields grow quiet. The soft sound of returning footsteps can be heard along the dirt paths, families reuniting, their hands dusty, but their spirits light. Inside the cottages, the hearth becomes the center of the world. A small fire crackles, sending shadows dancing along the thatched ceiling. The scent of cooking, thick vegetable pottage, perhaps with a little barley or a sliver of salted pork, fills the air, earthy and warm. Everyone gathers in close. They do not sit at grand tables, but often on benches or low stools, sometimes even the floor, clustered around the fire. They share wooden bowls, simple spoons, and conversation that drifts as slowly as the smoke rising through the roof beams. There is no rush, no microwave beeps, no screens, no notifications. Just the glow of flame, the quiet murmur of kin, and the slow satisfaction of a warm meal after a long day. After supper, some may sit and mend clothing by firelight. Others might tell a story, a folktale passed down from grandmothers, or a tale of saints and stars. There's a rhythm to these evenings, one older than timekeeping itself. The peasant's clock is the cycle of flame, from full blaze to dying embers. As the fire fades, so too does the day. When night fully arrives, the world grows still. Beyond the small circle of firelight, the village rests under a thick cloak of stars. The moon, if visible, bathes the fields in silver. Owls call softly from distant trees. The people begin to sleep, but not all at once and not all night. In many medieval homes, sleep came in two parts: first sleep and second sleep. After the first deep rest, many would wake for an hour or two to tend to the fire, pray quietly, or even visit a neighbor, then return to slumber until dawn. No one questioned this. There was no pressure to get 8 hours or fall asleep fast. Time at night felt softer, fluid, undemanding. If one couldn't sleep, they didn't stare at glowing numbers on a digital screen. They simply let the quiet surround them. Even sleep itself was part of the village rhythm, slower, gentler, attuned to light and warmth and season. Of course, not all days were the same. Time moved differently in spring than it did in winter. In spring, the days stretched longer, and peasants rose earlier with the birds. Fields turned green, and tasks multiplied, planting, lambing, preparing for the growing season. In summer, time expanded. Children played later into the evening. Meals were eaten outdoors. The sun itself felt eternal, hovering late into the sky. But in autumn, life slowed again. Time was marked by harvest. Full granaries, jars of honey, smoked meats. Hung in rafters, evenings arrived sooner, fires burned earlier, and people drew closer to home. And then winter, when the days were short, and even a single candle seemed precious. Sleep came early and deep. The clocks were not silent, for they had never spoken. But the hush of the season was the loudest timekeeper of all. Through it all, there were no ticking clocks, no alarms, no late or early. Only now. Only here. The medieval peasant may have lived with hardship, yes, but they also lived with a kind of peace most of us have forgotten. They knew when to rest because the stars told them. They knew when to rise because the earth stirred. They knew the meaning of time, not in seconds, but in seasons. There were feast days for saints and holy people, marking moments of pause and reverence. There was Easter, the joy of rebirth after the long hush of winter. There was All Hallows' Eve, when villagers lit candles for the souls of the departed. And there was Christmas, not just one day, but 12, filled with story, food, and the warmth of song. Market days added another measure. Once a week, or perhaps less often in remote places, villagers would gather in nearby towns. The roads would buzz with chatter, the carts creaking with goods, the scent of spices and cheese drifting in the breeze. Time, again, was not kept by the hour, it was kept by the journey. When the light was right and the road dry, the market began. Children learned these rhythms not from books, but from observation. When the wheat bowed with golden weight, it was harvest time. When the geese flew low and the mornings turned crisp, Michaelmas approached. Their calendar was alive, stitched not with numbers, but with customs and sky. Perhaps one of the most profound aspects of life without clocks was the way peasants listened to their own bodies. There was no separation between the self and the earth. Hunger told them when it was time to eat. Weariness signaled rest. The warmth of the sun woke. Them, the cold of evening told them to seek the hearth. Without artificial light or digital interruptions, their circadian rhythms, the body's natural timing, were in harmony with the world around them. Children didn't need bedtime stories with glowing tablets. They had the sound of the fire, the warmth of blankets, and the gentle hush of nightfall. Even the animals shared in this rhythm. Cows mooed for milking at dawn. Chickens settled at sunset. Dogs curled near the door, alert yet calm. And when illness came, as it sometimes did, healing was often found in slowness. Herbal brews, quiet corners, rest that came not in measured hours, but in as long as it took. There was no rush. Time was not spent, but lived. Image prompt, Rust 10. A cozy medieval bedroom at dusk, a grandmother tucking a child into a straw bed, a cat curled nearby, soft amber light from the fire. Style, Leonardo AI soft nostalgic realism, 16.9 aspect ratio. Ambient sounds, fire popping softly, wind sighing outside, quiet footsteps. As night deepened and the fire dimmed to gentle coals, there came another way medieval people marked time. Stories. Long before books were common in peasant homes, tales passed from voice to voice. Grandfathers told of brave knights. Grandmothers shared wisdom from long ago. Parents recited fables and prayers, lullabies and legends. Time was kept in how long a story lasted. Sleep when the tale ends, they'd say. And so, children would drift off mid-sentence as words became dreams. These stories weren't just for entertainment. They were memory. They were clocks made of language, a way to measure and make sense of life. You might imagine a mother whispering a tale while combing her daughter's hair, or a father speaking softly by the fire, voice low, rhythmic, until only the crackling of coals remained. This was their bedtime. And perhaps, now, yours too. As we near the end of this quiet journey, picture yourself walking one last time through the village. The stars above shimmer like tiny candles. The thatched rooftops rest under a blanket of moonlight. All is still. You hear the distant rustle of wind in the trees. A dog turns in its sleep. Somewhere, an owl calls. But mostly, silence, the fields. Beyond are dark now, but not lonely. They wait patiently, like everything in this world, for the dawn. Each home sleeps in rhythm with the earth. No clocks tick, no alarms await, only rest, only peace through the peaceful rhythms of a world long past. A world that ticked not with gears and dials, but with birdsong, with shifting light, and with the quiet certainties of the land. Morning has now passed. The sun has climbed to its highest point, though no one would call it noon as we do today. To a peasant, it is simply midday, felt in the warmth on their face, the stillness in the air, and the way the shadows shrink beneath the eaves of cottages and the knees of oxen. In the fields, the peasants pause. Their stomachs tell them it is time to eat, not to watch. Meals are often simple. A chunk of coarse rye bread, some pottage warmed in a clay pot, and if fortune smiles, perhaps a piece of smoked fish or a handful of berries from the hedgerow. They sit together on stones, stumps, or simply the earth itself. Children chase chickens through grass. A dog dozes in the shade. There is laughter, quiet conversation, and the occasional yawn. No sense of hurry. No reminder to get back to work. The sun guides them gently. When it moves again, so do they. The afternoon is filled with rhythm and repetition, but not of the mechanical kind. The rhythm of life is in the hoe striking soil, in the sickle slicing grain, in the wooden wheel. Turning slowly as water trickles into channels, children too play without clocks. They know it's time to return home when the sunlight has passed beyond the old ash tree near the chapel, or when the crows begin to gather and call their evening songs. Inside the cottage, a woman prepares the evening hearth. A few coals from the earlier fire are coaxed back to life. She blows gently, adding twigs, then dry straw, until it glows once again. There is no rush. The sky outside is dimming, painting the village in long, soft shadows. She doesn't glance at a kitchen timer. Her senses guide her. The scent of the bubbling pot, the deepening hue of the sky, and the gentle way her family gathers around, all speak to her of time. Now the sun tilts westward. The golden fields blush deeper, and the air cools. It's a time many now call evening, but in the world of the peasant, it is simply the waning of the day. After the meal, there is often quiet. No electric lights mean no harsh stimulation, just the slow dimming of the world. Candles are precious, used sparingly. The flicker of flame paints walls with shadows and stories. Children rest first, tucked into straw mattresses, covered in woolen cloth. Elders sit by the hearth, speaking in hushed tones or simply watching the fire. Outside, the moon begins her slow climb. There is no clock ticking on the wall, only the owl's first cry, the breeze slipping under the door, and the way eyes grow heavier without needing permission. And so, sleep comes when it is ready. Peasants didn't track bedtime by minutes past a certain hour. They let the body guide them. Tired eyes, a full belly, the hush of the world. These were all the signals they needed. And here's a forgotten truth. People often slept in two parts. Yes, segmented sleep, a first sleep, and a second sleep. The first would begin not long after dark. Then, in the middle of the night, around midnight by our clocks, they would wake gently. Not with alarm, just naturally. During this midnight hour, some would pray. Others would tend to animals or simply sit in contemplation. This watching hour was quiet, reflective, and after a while, they would return to bed for their second sleep just before dawn. Isn't that fascinating? A rhythm shaped not by schedules, but by light, rest, and instinct. Even now, as you listen, perhaps your mind is softening like theirs did by the hearth. Your breath slows. Your eyes begin to feel heavier. And like the peasants, your day winds toward peaceful slumber. Let us stay just a while longer. In this world, where time flows like a stream, unrushed, untimed, and utterly natural. No ticking hands, no glowing screens, only the turning of the earth, and the comfort of knowing that nothing else is required of you, only rest. By now, the village is cloaked in stillness. The moon has risen high, casting a silver glow over thatched rooftops and cobbled lanes. Shadows stretch and curl beneath trees, and the wind rustles gently through hedgerows. The sounds of the day, the clatter of tools, the bleating of sheep, the laughter of children, have all faded into silence. Only the night remains, soft, sacred, slow. Within each cottage, the embers in the hearth smolder quietly, not quite out, but no longer glowing. A few orange sparks flutter now and then, like tiny fireflies captured in a dream. and above, through the tiny window. It may be no more than an open shutter. Stars gleam in the blackness. A woman shifts in her bed of straw, pulling the woolen blanket closer. Her breath deepens. A child murmurs in sleep, turns once and is still. Even the dog, curled near the door, breathes with the calm rhythm of true rest. This is the second sleep, a natural return to rest after the night's gentle wakefulness. There is no rush, no worry. For time here is not a cage. It is a companion, a slow, smiling friend, moving at the pace of life itself. And now we come to something beautiful. The dreams of the medieval peasant. Not recorded in books or etched in stone, but carried gently on the hush of sleep. They dreamed of saints and angels, of harvests and hunts, of rivers and woods, and sometimes of lost loved ones. Some believed dreams were messages, gifts from the divine, or glimpses of another realm, and with no clocks to disturb them. No interruptions from buzzing alarms or midnight screens. They could drift as far as the stars, wandering the dreamscape until the rooster's call pulled them gently back. Their dreams, much like their lives, were unhurried. Not squeezed between appointments, not stolen in exhausted collapse, but welcomed like visitors. And so, the night passes. Not with tick-tock urgency, but in waves. From dusk to waking, like the tide. Eventually, the first gray light of morning creeps across the sky. No alarms, no rush, just birds. One at first, then another. Their chorus builds softly. The cockerel lifts his head and calls across the thatched rooftops. Inside, the light filters through parchment-covered windows, casting golden slivers across stone walls. The peasants stir again. Not suddenly, not all at once, but slowly, like flowers unfurling. A new day begins. This was how they lived. No schedules, no digital alerts, no seconds ticking by. Only the land, the light, the body's own wisdom. And though the world has changed, though we now measure time in blinks and buzzes, there is still something timeless within us. A rhythm older than clocks. A rhythm like yours. As you breathe in and breathe out. The rhythm of being, of resting, of letting go. So tonight, let go of the numbers. Let go of the lists. Let go of the worry. Instead, imagine the soft flicker of a candle, the whisper of wind through a wooden shutter, and the calm certainty that you need nothing more than this moment. If sleep has already found you, stay there. You are safe, and the night will carry you the rest of the way. If your eyes are still fluttering, still half awake, let's take one last gentle breath together. Breathe in and out. Let your thoughts drift like smoke from a hearth, light and free. And let the peace of simpler times linger just a little longer before the sun climbs high again. You are warm. You are safe. You are timeless. Good night, dear listener, and gentle, gentle dreams.